Hi, my name is Kevin Martin. If you haven't seen any of our videos yet, I'm here with the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program, sponsored by New York Farm Viability and the Northeast Center for Risk Management. We're here to talk to you today about the importance of business planning and what we're trying to accomplish by encouraging and educating growers on how to develop a written business plan, what a written business plan includes, and why you might be interested in doing that if you are a grower. In particular, a grower in our region would be able to sit down and walk through the development process of coming up with a business plan for their farm, something that's relatively foreign for most of the growers in our region because we see multi-generational farms which continue to struggle through succession and intergenerational transfer, but still continue to exist in a larger and larger form. So while we are losing farms and we're trying to avoid that kind of a scenario for as many farms as we can through this business planning and succession planning process, the farms that we do have are by and large a result of intergenerational transfers that went successful. So we want to continue to see that process work as well as it has for some and better than it has in the past for others. And in doing that, I think we can develop a process which minimizes risk to our smaller growers and as well as creating a sustainable future, because one of the ways we see consolidation working in our region is through growers getting larger and larger. And while that's worked very well for certain industries in agriculture, like field crops, there are some limits that we are seeing when we look at our research in terms of profitability, reviewing Schedule F forms for sole proprietorships and other tax filings for some of the other organizations we have in the industry. Expansion and increase in acreage is not necessarily the only way to become sustainable in a specialty crop like grape production, but it's also not necessarily an effective way to become sustainable. There are certain sizes that I think growers need to avoid, and we can talk about that in more detail when we talk about some of the details of developing a realistic plan. But also growing beyond capacity is a real issue for some members of the industry. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that unlike field crops, the machinery and investments and labor are not necessarily scalable. As a specialty crop, in specialty crop production, like grape production, we're confined to essentially one-row machines. Some of the labor is still done by hand. We're converting a lot of that labor to a mechanized process, but it can't necessarily be eliminated altogether. And because of those reasons, scalability is a real challenge. And farmers that find themselves at 200 acres in size are often more profitable than growers struggling to manage 300 and 400 acre farms because of those scalability issues. I think with that being said, if you take a look at some of our other videos, we will have a more in-depth look at some of the elements of the business plan for bulk Concord production and for bulk wine production. The data we have is centered around the Lake Erie region. That's where our program is home, and hopefully it will be helpful to some of the other emerging regions, but this is where our data is and this is what we'll concentrate on. And I hope you find the information